Hello, my friend. If you are looking for love, if you're looking to build a healthy relationship, or you're trying to fix a relationship that you have and make it a safer environment and a long-lasting, loving relationship, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the School of Greatness. I'm your host, Lewis Howes, and today's episode, we are diving deep into 4 powerful moments that have resonated with the world about relationships from our show. From healing past traumas to embracing vulnerability, get ready to embark on a journey towards deeper connections and genuine love. We don't go into relationships thinking that they're going to fail. At least I know I don't. I've always tried to make them work, but a lot of them in the past haven't worked. And I've learned hard, painful lessons. And I'm going to share some of those lessons with you today and also dive into some of these powerful moments. So in this episode, we are going to explore key reasons why relationships fail and what you can do to find lasting love.
It's been so amazing.
Last year was just a transformative, life-changing event.
Team greatness is great.
My name is Lewis Howes. Thanks so much for being here. I want to remind you about the Summit of Greatness, our annual conference happening this September in Los Angeles with David Goggins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and many more incredible speakers and performers. There will be so many live attendees there that you can meet with, you can network with, and you can help transform your life. I can't wait to see you at the Summit of Greatness here in Los Angeles. To start, I'm going to introduce you to Michael Todd as he shares why 99% of relationships fail. And this is a huge one that most people miss out on, and what you can do today to find lasting love. Now, Michael's insights on authenticity, trauma, and self-love are crucial for anyone looking to build a strong foundation in their relationships. And as you watch or listen, think to yourself, how can being fully authentic and addressing past traumas help us create deeper, more meaningful connections? Why do you think a lot of relationships aren't working out today?
Yeah.
Specifically to our culture and society, is it because people are choosing wrong? Is it because they're getting into a relationship at the wrong time? Is it because they're not clear on the tools on how to have healthy relationships and intimacy? What do you think is wrong with relationships today?
So, first off, I want to say that relationships are how we were, I believe, designed to interact with each other in this life. So for everybody that's listening and watching, be like, that's why I don't do no relationships. I don't want no relationships. Like, you're missing out on, I believe, what is the fabric, the most valuable connection you could have is authentic, real, life-giving relationship with somebody else. So for everybody that's been hurt, I just feel to start there, to everybody who's been burned and wounded and all that other stuff, I do believe that this is how God intended for it to be, us to be in relationship. But the reason, to answer your question, why I think it's so hard and it doesn't seem like a lot of people are doing well in relationship is because of 3 reasons. Number one, I don't think that they're bringing their full self to the relationship. I think many times when people start in relationship, they really give versions of themselves. And I understand it to a degree, but some people have been married for 10 years and still they've never met who they really are married to.
Ooh.
Some people have been in business with people for years and they've never really met their business partner.
Right.
They're getting these versions of them that are triggered by, number 2, their trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So the version I present of you is not really who I am. It's who I am after I was in the relationship with the last guy. It's after I'm in the relationship with the last business partner. So when I come, I don't come with fresh trust. I don't come with fresh expectation. I don't come assuming the best. I come to you like, maybe you won't hurt me like the other person did. So I'm going to give you this much because I never want to actually feel that again.
Wow.
And you can never really love unless hurt is an option.
Wait, say that one more time.
You can never really love if being hurt is not an option.
Interesting.
And a lot of people are trying to mitigate the hurt so they also mitigate the amount of love they can feel.
Interesting.
And at the level that you are vulnerable, it's the level that you can actually experience the love, the acceptance, the joy that you really want in a marriage. And so I always ask people, I was like, who are you bringing to this relationship? Are you bringing the broken, battered, wounded, jacked up pessimistic version of yourself to this? Are you actually saying, you know what? I need to start over. This is a brand new person. I need to maybe not even be in a relationship right now so I can go heal. And that's my burden of even this book and some of the things that I'm talking about. I really feel like the quality of our life would increase if we would allow the quality of our healing to increase. And most people don't want to take the time to heal. I mean, you used to play ball.
Man.
Like, think about it. Every contact sport has an off season. And the primary reason for an off season is what?
Healing.
Healing. I've been getting hit. I've been running. I've been lifting weights. I've been ripping and tearing and all the different things. And so I need a season so that I can become the version of me that I know I can be up here. But my body, my emotions, my will needs time to become that in here.
Yes.
And a lot of people are jumping from relationship to relationship, business entrepreneurship to business entrepreneurship partner. They're going from this to that. And I'm scared that many people aren't reaching their greatest purpose or their greatest height because they have not taken the time to actually heal. And so that would be the answer to my question, to your question holistically. I think people aren't doing good in relationships is because they're not tending to themselves.
Right, they're not tending. So you said not bringing the full self to the
Yes.
other person, whether it's intimacy, whether it's friendship or business. They're allowing their traumas to guard them or hold them back as well because they're not allowing themselves to recover or heal. What would be the third thing, did you say?
I would say that the third thing of this, and now you got my mind going 1,000 places. Now I'm ready to start relationship goals part 2. But the third thing would be that they don't tend to themselves.
Yeah, they don't tend to themselves, yeah.
So what ends up happening is I'm a person of faith. And so the Bible says that you can only love your neighbor at the level that you love yourself.
So if you have a level 2 out of 10 of self-love,
you
and
only
self-care,
can give at maximum a 2.
Wow.
And a lot of times you don't give nobody else the maximum.
Right.
So again, if you can't deal with you, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, if you can't forgive yourself, if you can't say we failed back there, but there's still greatness in the inside of you. If you can't do that to yourself, it's very difficult to love somebody else at that level. And that's where I think a lot of times our relationships are really a reflection. The reason it's not working is because you can't divorce you. But you can let go of them. And you don't like what you're getting from you, but you can not like what you're getting from them and try it again.
Wow.
And so I think that sometimes I'm talking heavy right now, Lewis, but what I am saying is I feel like some people need to take time to reflect and remember, to retool and then renew. And I think that's how out of that your relationships will be so much more vibrant. They'll be so much more intentional, as well as you'll get to experience the fruitfulness and the joy out of those relationships because you've done enough work on you to know what you're actually looking for.
This idea of healing is something that I've really loved over my last decade, but specifically over the last 2.5 years, I've dived deeper into internal and spiritual healing.
Yes, sir.
And it has created a level of peace and an internal environment of harmony that I've never experienced in my life.
Yes, sir.
That allows me to see clearly, or at least more clearly, right?
Yeah.
Of who's in front of me, what I want. It just gives me more awareness. But I remember many years, if not decades, feeling very anxious when a relationship wasn't working out, going through a breakup, and feeling like I got to get back on, my relationship game quickly. And never really taking the time to heal because it was really scary.
Yeah.
It was really scary to face the trauma or the shame or the whatever it was I was holding on to. It was scary. And all I wanted was intimacy and connection with someone else. I didn't want to be alone.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone can relate to this.
Everybody can relate to that. Everybody
So
can.
for those who are like, you know what, but I feel so alone. I feel so scared. This trauma, I don't even want to think about it because it's so dark.
Yeah.
Or it's so hard for me to focus on. What do you say to people that are really struggling, that really want love, really want intimacy and connection and just deep compassion with someone else, but they're afraid to do the healing work because the trauma is so scary?
So I would say to you, because I know there's thousands of people watching this that feel that exact same thing, you need to examine the pattern.
Man, that's so true.
Because if this is a pattern of you continually getting hurt because you do not heal, then it might be better for you long term to do the work to heal so that you can cut the cycle.
Yes.
I think about rest in heaven, Kobe Bryant, when he tore his Achilles, and he said he could come back and play before he was fully healed. He was ready. I mean, and he would have probably been better than 9 out of 10 people on the floor. He could have fooled everybody, but he knew he wasn't his 100%.
He wasn't his best.
He was not his best. So if it came down to the last minute when he really needed to be his best, he wouldn't have what he needed to have. So they took the time for him to actually heal. What I'm saying is you may be fooling everybody. Your Instagram is popping, your business is successful, you got the bag and the body, and you got all the different things, but you know deep down in your soul, your mind, will, and emotions, you know you're still hurting.
Ooh.
And so what ends up happening is you come in limping to love. You limp into love.
Wow.
Instead of leaping into love.
Right.
You should be able to go a lot higher, but because you're still aware of the thing that you need to be healed, you don't go. And so what I'm saying is, if this is a pattern, if it's been the same, it was John, and then it was Joey, and then it was Julio, then it was Jaquan, and then it was Jared. Like if it's the same thing, you might want to step back and get a new perspective because the pattern is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And a season of discipline can produce a lifetime of freedom.
Come on.
And that's where my encouragement, I've counseled too many people, I've been around too many people, I've helped so many people get through this hump in their life. And what they realize is what they're scared of, they need the most. That intentional time with themselves, that intentional time with God, that intentional time with community, that intentional time in counseling. They need that because if you discover you, if you find out who you were made to be and walk in your purpose and get confident in that thing, then you actually will attract what you really want to love.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are attracting to their insecurities.
Ooh, man, that's true.
You're attracting based on your trauma, not on the healed version of you.
Right.
And so you're looking for somebody to play savior and they can't. They've never been able to have that ability in this life. And so I would just encourage those people. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating. I know you probably even tried before. But as someone who can identify with you, like as someone who did not want to face their trauma, did not want to talk about the bad stuff that happened, did not want to even block stuff out. No, I'm not going there. Like the journey that I've gone on to actually take everything that has damaged me and say, you know what? I may be damaged, but I'm not destroyed. This thing that was trauma, it actually can be fuel to make me triumph. I learned that the value was still in me. And then once I learned the value was in me, then I could give and add value to other people. And so I'm telling you, it may be hard, but it's going to be worth it.
I love this segment because Michael talks about these keys to really creating lasting love. And I think one of the biggest that resonated with me is making sure you take the time to heal. I've heard this from so many different relationship experts that I've interviewed here over the years. And I have made this mistake more times than I can remember, where I didn't take the time to heal between relationships, or I didn't take the time to heal within a relationship. And I just wanted to fix something and not address the traumas, the pains, or the things that were causing me breakdown. So really take the time to heal. If you're in a long-term relationship right now that you feel like you're struggling or there's a lot of friction, take the time and space within the relationship. You don't have to end it and break up the person. Just take the time to make sure you heal. Then you can create a better relationship moving forward, or take the necessary steps to remove yourself from that relationship. This will allow you to get clear on what are these negative patterns that I'm constantly in, and how can I shift them or shift into a different relationship with myself or the person I'm with. So again, I hope you enjoyed that. Leave a comment below on what your big takeaway from that moment was. So next up, we have New York Times bestselling author and relationship coach, Matthew Hussey, who is one of my longtime friends and a favorite here on the School of Greatness. He emphasizes that love is not enough in intimate relationships. And this is a concept that I thought, Love is all you need. This is something we hear all the time. But he says love is not enough. So let's take a look and let me know what you think.
Like a friend of mine I wrote about in the book, her name is Tanya. She had a very, very busy career for a long time and was at a point in her life where she wanted a relationship. And she also knew she wanted a family. She wanted marriage. She wanted kids. And she got to the point where she just would be very not upfront with people about asking, like, do you want that with me? She would never do that. But
Do you want to have kids? Do you want to be married? Yeah.
she would literally bring those things up proactively and say, but she would almost start with herself. So she'd say, I'm really excited. Whenever they asked her a question about her love life, she'd say, I'm in a place in my life where I've worked hard for a long time. I've put a lot of focus into my career. I feel like I'm ready now. Like I get really excited about the idea of being married. I get excited about the idea of being a mum. That's something I really want for myself at some point. Mm-hmm. And by saying that, she wasn't saying I want it tomorrow, but by saying that, she was very clearly putting her cards on the table about what was important to her. She wasn't trying to play cool and indifferent and like, just see what life throws at me. I don't care.
Have fun.
Yeah, she's like very clearly like, this is something I'm excited about in my life. How about you? And then you're inviting someone to the conversation. Mm-hmm. You're doing it in a way where you're making it's a very positive thing. This is, often we think of the things we want as our baggage. How do I bring up the fact that I want kids or that I want to get married or like, I don't want to scare them. I don't want to, we come at it from this place of like, I'm fearful of putting my intentions on the table. But what she did very well is she didn't make them her intentions for someone else. She made them her intentions for herself. She was just letting the person in on those intentions. And then she was asking what their intentions were for themselves. So in doing that, you're not making it about like we're on, date 4 and having this conversation that's way ahead of where we are right now for ourselves, for each other. I mean, it was more, I'm the same way that I might on a date talk about how I'm excited to start this business in the next few years. Well, what's the difference between that and I'm excited to be married in the next few years or I'm excited to have a family in the next few years? Like, what's the difference? They're all just things, they're all goals of yours. They're all things you're excited about for your life. So why attach all this baggage to the one that, might one day involve someone else? It's because our fear of getting rejected is getting involved and saying they're going to think that I'm putting pressure on them or whatever. But actually, if we own it as our intentions and we own the fact that they're not even at the point where we could know that you're not at the point where I know I could want that with you right now.
Right.
There's 100 more little experiences we need to go through before I would ever know that you're the person that I want for that. So how could it be about you right now? This is about me. But I'm curious to know whether, what it is you want in your life. Because if for you told me today, oh, I categorically never want to have kids.
Right.
And that's important to me. Then, hey, that's cool. I get it. Let's have a great dinner. And
then see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good one. Yeah,
exactly.
It's so interesting you say this because Martha did a really good job of being curious with her questions with me early on and not reacting or being like, I can't believe that's what you want right now.
Being neutral about it.
Yeah, just kind of being like curious about like, oh, tell me about this and tell me about this and tell me about your past and all these things where she wasn't reactive and making me wrong or shameful for my life, right? And she wasn't like, oh, that's really scary or something like that. She was more curious and just paying attention and noticing. And there was about maybe a month and a half in of us dating, or maybe it was 2 months, I can't remember. We weren't officially committed yet, but we were dating and seeing, having hundreds of those little moments. She said, hey, I want to ask you a question. With a pause, and I was like, okay, what is this? And I've already told you this before. She was like, what are your She said, what are your priorities in life? I think every woman says this at some point to some guy they're dating. What are your priorities? And I got sad in that moment. I got sad because for the first time, I was like, man, I really like her. And I feel like there's We're in harmony in a lot of areas. We're in alignment in a lot of areas. But every time I've shared my priorities in previous relationships, there's always a negative reaction. There's always a pain, an anger, an upset, something. So I was like, I'm really sad because, and I said this to her, I said, I'm going to tell you the truth of my priorities, but I think this is the last conversation we might have. And I was really sad because I was like, dang it, I'm really enjoying my time with her. And I just don't know if she's willing to accept the priorities in my life right now. And she kind of got a little, she was like, what is it? She thought it was like going to be some horrible thing or something, right? So I'm like, listen, this whole time I've known you, I've been 100% honest with you about everything, even stuff that's uncomfortable for me, from my past or shameful things. And so my priority is to continue to be honest with you, but I just don't think you can handle what I'm about to tell you. And I don't think you're going to accept it. And then she eventually was like, listen, trust me, I'll be able to handle it. And I said, okay, no woman has ever handled my response to this question before, but it's nice knowing you. It's been nice knowing you. And I was really sad. Before I shared it. And I said, listen, my first priority in life, and this may change in the future, but this is where I'm at right now in this season of my life. My first priority is my health. Because I want to be healthy. I want to make sure I'm taking care of my mental health, physical, spiritual health. So I need time every day to take care of that. And that's a number one priority. If I don't take care of health, I'm not going to have good energy. I'm not going to be as happy. I'm going to be, cranky. And that's not the life I want to live. So that's the first priority for me. And I've told that to previous relationships. And every girl I was dating got mad at me for saying health as number one as opposed to them as number one, the relationship. And she didn't react right away. So I was like, okay, priority number two, you're not going to like this.
Hold on. It gets worse.
Yes. Priority number two, you're not going to like this. It's still not going to be you if we're in a relationship. Priority number two is my vision, is my purpose in life. What I feel, I don't know the magic and the miracle of life and why we're here. I don't know the answer to, but I do know that there's some type of calling inside of me, some type of voice, some type of pull telling me that I need to continue to grow, continue to develop, and to serve humanity in a specific way as my purpose for this season of life. And that requires a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of attention. And I know if I'm not taking care of my energy with that priority, I will be frustrated, cranky, grumpy. I'll feel like something's off inside of me because I'm pulling myself away from my purpose of this season of life. And that's priority number two. It's still not you. Or if we get together, it won't be you, right? And she didn't react right away. She's just kind of like, okay, and what else? And I said, priority number three in my life right now is my intimate relationship. If that's with you or whatever it might be, it'll be creating a healthy, loving environment, a peaceful environment in a relationship so we can thrive together in a relationship. And those are my top three priorities. And I'm just kind of waiting for her to say, okay, see you later. But she goes, I love that. It's really beautiful. And I've always wanted to meet a man who valued their health, valued their purpose, and valued the relationship. And I said, really? You're not going to run away? You're not afraid of that? She said, no. She goes, that makes sense to me. And it was in alignment with her as well. And I said, listen, the reason I'm saying this, because if I'm extremely healthy and taken care of mentally, physically, spiritually, if I'm on purpose on a daily, consistent basis, I'm going to be more alive. I'm going to have more energy, and you're going to feel like the number one priority. You will feel my love, my appreciation, my attention, my care, my thoughtfulness, my generosity 1,000-fold than if I made you the number one priority and I neglected health and I neglected purpose. That would only last so long where I could pour into you as my only priority, top priority, and then everything else is secondary. And so you will feel like number one priority if you're in alignment with me with these other two. And it was a beautiful experience because I thought the relationship was going to be over, but instead that's when it started. Mm. When it was like, okay, I'm able to have a challenging conversation and share these things vulnerably, the fear that you may not like what I'm about to say. And if I'm accepted with that, then it felt like it was just starting to begin with that challenging conversation. And I think a lot of us get afraid of opening up. We get afraid of talking about these things, or even like you said, like, my intention is to have a family one day. It doesn't have to be with you starting next month, which that would scare me away if someone was like, I need this by next month. We need to make this happen. I'd be like, oh, that doesn't work for me. We don't know each other. But I think having these uncomfortable conversations earlier on will create more freedom later in the future. Wow. Love is not enough. I remember posting a clip talking about this myself on social media, and I think it got like 10 million views. When someone said, well, why is it not enough? Well, I said, you need values, vision, and lifestyle. And you need to really prioritize values first, I believe, and make sure that you're in alignment and super clear with the person that you're dating or entering a committed relationship with, and say, these are my values. And not make someone else wrong if they don't have the same values as you. And really asking yourself, are we in alignment? We don't have to have all the values exactly the same, but am I okay with their values if they're not mine? And are they okay with mine? Or are these going to be challenges and struggles in the future because we're just not in alignment on our values? So I wish that we could all live in fairyland and think that love is all you need. And sometimes maybe it is. But for most of the time, I really feel like you need values, you need your vision to be in alignment, and you need your lifestyle alignments to be there as well. That's my thought. What do you think below? Is love enough? Do you need more than love? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Now, in our next segment is, my favorite person in the world. It's Martha Iguededa. She's my fiance. She's spoke on Summit of Greatness 2023 stage where I proposed to her in front of the entire audience. There was a beautiful moment. But we talked about, before I proposed, we talked about the importance of authenticity, acceptance, joy, and freedom in relationships. And I'll tell you what, I've been in many relationships in the past, and I've never felt free in any of those relationships. In this one, I do. It is an incredible feeling that I want everyone who experiences a loving relationship to have. And when you don't feel free in a relationship, I'm not saying you can do whatever you want in the relationship, but I feel free to be myself. I accept myself and I feel accepted by her. It's a beautiful thing. And I didn't know that was possible because I never experienced that in any relationship before. I don't know if you can relate to that. Raise your hand, leave a comment below like this if it relates to you, if you know what that feels like. But it's suffocating. It feels like you're trapped. It feels like you're a prisoner to a relationship and you have to change yourself constantly. But Martha's approach, she really talks about chemistry versus compatibility in this moment that we're going to share with you. And she offers a fresh perspective on attracting your ideal partner. I'm so excited for you to listen to this, to watch it. Leave a comment below as you're listening and let me know what you think.
So my acronym is the word balanced. And balance with triple C, actually. We'll go into it. But
so it's not passion or chemistry.
It's not passion, it's not chemistry.
Okay.
No. That's the other thing, because I think chemistry is extremely overrated. It should be valued, because I think it's important, but it's extremely overrated. Mm-hmm. Because what chemistry does, and this is why they say love is blind, is because it really gets in the front of your head, creates all these chemicals, and you're not able to see the person as who they really are.
It's true.
You're feeling these chemicals, and you think you like the person, but what you're liking is the chemical reaction that person is creating in you. You don't know this person. How can you really like them or love them? So that's why I'm a firm believer in the advice that my parents always told me, which is spend time getting to know the other person. And everything that comes your way is just information. Mm-hmm. You don't try to add to it, make them more, amazing that they really are. And also you don't try to delete all the little things and little red flags that you're seeing. Everything is information.
And what I've heard you talk about is like not choosing to be with someone based on potential.
No.
Why not?
Because then you're basically going to spend a lot of time to try to mold them and make them or encourage them into becoming that potential. But every person is just living their own life. Nobody wants to be changed. You know, saying to a person, you should do this, you should do that. No, like, nobody likes that.
I guess it's different if you're seeing that someone's taking their own actions and they're becoming something.
Yes,
then
that's
you can
different.
be inspired by that potential.
Yeah.
But if you're like, wow, they're so good, but they could be so much more, but they're not taking any actions to show it, then that's not the same.
And that's why I think the key of what you just said is if you're already seeing they're taking action. The problem is if they're not taking action, but you are the one seeing that they could take the action, you're going to start saying, hey, do this, do that, do that. And at the end of the day, that creates a dynamic that is like this. You telling this person that they should be different. And that creates a lot of resentment from the other person and a lot of resentment on yourself because you're trying really hard to change them.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that, before you get into your acronym, which I think is really powerful, we've read so many books together. I'll talk about some of this. We've done so many different things together, which has been really cool. But one of the things that we talked about before we got, committed to one another, we spent many months together, so much time together before we got committed. I made a conscious decision, and I think you did as well, that we were going to choose to accept the person for who they were in that moment and what we've experienced, and saying, okay, if this is who you are, I choose to accept you. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get frustrated or have some aggravations here and there, but choosing to accept and love you for this person that I'm experiencing and let stuff go, like just not let other things affect me.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of work for me to continue to grow and a lot of work for you to continue to grow, to accept one another. So it's been, but having that and feeling like I can be 100% who I am is the greatest peace and freedom I've ever experienced in my life.
Me too, for me.
And I'm sure for you, like I told her before this day, I said, listen, if we're going to choose to commit to one another, I said, I'm never going to get angry at you. And I don't think I have. Maybe I've gotten, a little frustrated, but I haven't gotten angry at you in over 2 years.
No.
I mean, call me out if I am.
No, you haven't.
I've gotten maybe frustrated, or I've been tired, or I've been, whatever, not my best self, but I'm not getting angry at you. And hopefully I never do get angry at you. But I made that commitment. I was like, I am going to accept you. As long as we're living into the agreements that we've agreed to, with flexibility, with, patience, then I should have no reason to be angry at you, because I've gotten to know you up to this point of who you are. I've seen so much of you, probably 90% of your personality I got to witness in multiple months of tons of time and trips and traveling and all these things we went to. I was like, okay, I've seen a lot of your personality. Obviously, I don't know everything about you, but we knew a lot about each other. And I was like, okay, if this is who you are, then there's no reason for me to get angry. Unless you start not acting this way and you act like a completely different person, I'm going to accept you and never get angry at you, because there's no reason for me to. And hopefully that makes you feel at peace, because it makes
me feel very at peace.
And I know, and I said, and that's my one thing, I need you to accept and love me, because if I'm going to give that to you, I don't want someone getting angry at me or reactive or frustrated. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so it was a mutual agreement and understanding from the beginning. And again, I was like, it doesn't mean you can't be frustrated or let down or sad or disappointed. You can have emotions and feel things, but lashing out on me doesn't make sense if we're trying to create a value system of conscious relationship. For me, it didn't make sense, because I'd had that so many times in the past and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be alone and single and peace in my own space than be on eggshells, wondering when is someone going to be unhappy with me or react to me or whatever. And so it's been a beautiful experience. I'm very grateful for you for that.
It's been a beautiful experience for me.
But I don't know if a lot of people can have learned how to do that. And so what is this balanced acronym that you...
Oh, yeah. So, okay, I think this is very important. At least it was for me, and it is for me. One of them, I said it's balanced, right? So the B, which is super important, is be yourself. A lot of the times when we meet someone new, we are trying to mold ourselves to who they are, or just show the best version of yourself the whole time, or things like that. Just be yourself. And in order for you to be yourself and your authentic self, get to know yourself. And getting to know yourself also takes the exercise of knowing how do you like to be loved and how you like to love.
And we got very fortunate because early on we went through so many different exercises on our love languages.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like just synchronicities or timing, but we have the exact same order of love language.
Yes, thank
meaning,
God.
what I like to give, I also like to receive, and she likes to give and receive as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not really a gift person. If she buys me a gift, I'm like, thank you, but it's not like, oh, it makes me feel so loved and so warm and I feel so appreciated and seen. It's like, I'm cool, but I can buy this myself. You know, I'm kind of have that mentality. I'm like, okay, cool, but it doesn't make me feel loved.
Yeah.
But touch and affirmations, you know, and words of affirmation, like, I'm doing that with you all day and you're doing that with me. And I'm like, man, I feel really loved. So I don't have to work harder to make you feel loved. And you don't have to work harder to make me feel loved or do something that you normally don't do authentically.
Yeah.
And I think that alignment has been really helpful. And I'm not saying it's what has to happen, but it's been really helpful for me and for us.
Yeah, it's been really helpful. And even if we didn't have the same love languages, because maybe some people here say, wait a second, we don't have the same love languages. We do. And this is great. Mom and dad, they have it too. They have words of affirmation with each other and acts of service with each other. But if you have different ones, you can have the conversation and then do the things that you know for the other person will make them feel loved.
Exactly.
And then vice versa.
Exactly. So that's the B.
So the B is be your authentic self. The A is so important, which we touched a little bit on this, is acceptance. It's so important to accept the other person, which is why it's important to take your time to get to know them. Because you're going to see if the things that you hold as your values, as your vision, and as your lifestyle matches with the values, which is so important, of the other person, and their vision, and also the lifestyle.
We did a lot of exercises early on about our values and our vision.
Yeah.
We actually went to a location and we did a whole meditation process where I said, listen, I want you to write your values and I'm going to write my values. We're not going to let each other see them until after we both complete it. Because I wanted to see if we're in alignment or if we're completely off on things. Not meaning it wouldn't work out, but we'd have to come to an agreement on alignment.
Yeah.
And we had so many things in alignment based on this exercise where I was like, okay, she's not just writing something down because she knows I wrote it down and vice versa. She's not doing something because she wants to impress me. You were just writing down what your values were. And that was just another helpful exercise, I think, for both of us to be like, okay, maybe those three things are my values, but I'm not against those things. And same thing for you. It's like, okay, he really values this. It's not really for you, but you're not against it. It's not against your values.
It actually enriches my life and vice versa. So, and a lot of them were very similar values.
Yeah, very similar.
It was a beautiful exercise that I recommend to everybody, even if you are already together. Just write it, separate from each other. What are your values?
And see how you can find alignment. We did an 8-hour therapy session on a Saturday one time together. And it's kind of crazy, but it's also extremely powerful on all the different exercises that we did. And we learned more and more about each other. Even though we were doing these exercises together, it was powerful to have a third party who had been seasoned in these things to support us in any disagreements we might have. Because we do have disagreements, but they don't become arguments because we create conscious conversations to form new agreements around a disagreement.
Yeah.
And that allows us to have more peace and harmony as opposed to resentment. So it's beautiful what you're talking about with
I think acceptance is very important because of the changing thing that we just talked about. Most people don't want to be changed by the other person. So just accept the person for who they are and where they are.
Exactly.
I think that's very important. And the L from balance is laughter. I think laughter, joy, sexiness, like anything that you guys enjoy together. That's why I said laughter and joy. I'm curating all of this for Harper.
Exactly.
I think that's important.
Yeah,
laughter. Laughter, joy, appreciation with each other. Having these moments. I think You know, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
Yeah.
The other A, which I think is extremely important, is allowance.
What do you mean by allowance? Allowing someone to do whatever they want at any moment, at any time?
No, I think allowance has to do with flexibility, like allowing the person to make mistakes. Sometimes we get into, when you're in relationships, you get into silly arguments because somebody made just a tiny mistake and you're like, how come you didn't take out the dogs? And I don't know. Well, I just forgot. And that's okay. Like, allowance, have the allowance.
So I don't have to be perfect all the time?
You don't have to be perfect all the time, no. And also because I am living my human experience, and Louis is living his human experience, and we're just sharing it with each other. Mm-hmm. So if in your human experience there's something that happens to you, you're just living your life. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for you and next to you, and you're allowed to be. You know, it's the allowance also of having freedom
in the relationship.
Within the relationship. Yeah. I think it's important. Like the other day you came home and I saw this jiu-jitsu suit outfit, and I'm like, oh, it looks like he's getting into jiu-jitsu now. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get into jiu-jitsu. Oh, what if your ears go into, like, if he wants to turn his ears into broccoli or whatever, Brussels sprouts. I'm like, that's his life. It's good. He's living his life.
Broccoli?
I don't know, whatever.
Cauliflower? Is what cauliflower ears?
I don't know how you call it. I just think it's a vegetable, but.
Vegetable. He wants to turn his ears into carrots and asparagus. Like a salad.
I'm gonna love you. It's your life.
Right.
We're sharing it with each other. So anybody's allowed. Sometimes, well, I want to go on this trip with the guys. Go on the trip with the guys, if that's something you need. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's okay with me going on a trip with the girls. Like, sometimes we get stuck in these little things because they make us feel unsafe. And so the more we feel unsafe, we want to have these parameters to create safety, but in reality starts creating a cage.
Again, one of my favorite people in the world, Martha. I'm so grateful for her. And if you haven't seen the full episode of that interview, we'll have it linked below where you can see me actually proposing to her on stage. It's on YouTube as well. You can check that out. And the big takeaway for me, I mentioned this before we started this moment, was acceptance and allowance. One of the things that Martha and I did early on is we went to couples therapy together as we started dating early on. And there wasn't any problem or challenge really. We had minor things we had to address and discuss to get alignment on, but we did it not to fix anything, but to make sure we were setting up a strong foundation. And one of the key things that we talked about was acceptance and allowance. Before we got committed, I said, listen, I have one condition, is that when we are exclusively committed, you fully accept who I am and I accept who you are. You've got specific things in your career and as an actress in your lifestyle that I get to choose to accept. And same for me. You've got to accept me and my lifestyle and my career choices and the things that I do as well. Now we create boundaries, we create agreements and all these different things, but I accept who you are at your core, your personality, your flaws, your imperfections, and you accept those with me. Knowing that we are also committed to growing as individuals. We're committed to becoming better and not just staying where we're at for the rest of our lives. So it's these agreements when there is acceptance and allowance as well. But finding a partner that can be in alignment with you on those things, having those agreements and allowance and acceptance is a beautiful and powerful thing. And for our final moment of today, this is a extremely powerful guest that we've had on. Her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she talks about the fascinating world of neurophysiology and emotional dynamics. And Dr. Leaf reveals the science behind falling in love and staying in love. And from preparing your brain before resolving conflicts to cultivating self-compassion, Dr. Caroline Leaf's insights will help you create a safe emotional space in your relationship, both emotionally and physically. And as you listen or watch this segment, think to yourself, how can I really understand the brain's role in relationships to help us build stronger, more resilient bonds? Let's go ahead and take a look.
If someone's in a broken relationship right now,
maybe they've been arguing for years or fighting. They don't, maybe they have good weeks and then there's a bad week, and it's this cycle of good and bad, up and down, and it just feels like it's draining or exhausting. What can they do to start healing the relationship, to start healing individually and the relationship, to create harmony in the future?
Beautiful.
What are those steps?
Okay, so first thing is, if it's an abusive relationship, then obviously just get safe. That's priority, as we all know. But let's say that it's not an abusive, it's just you just got in some bad habits.
Both of you are doing bad habits. Both of you are trying to fix the other person. Both of you are.
But you're still together because there's love.
Yes.
There's a desire to be together. So if it's that, so that's the scenario. Okay. So the first thing to do is to get into some good practices that will help calm your neurophysiology down. So I call that brain preparation.
You kind of your nervous system, or
calming the entire neurophysiology. So that when your mind, you've got a calm, wise mind that's always active and always on your side. Then we have our messy mind that's in the relationship. It's in the moment. It's the in the moment messy mind.
the reactive
Learning. It's very normal. It's like experimental, and it sometimes goes really messy, and other times it kind of gets it right and whatever. So it needs a lot of guidance, and that's our wired full of nature is our wise mind. So the first thing is that when we're in that messy mind state, that's sending all this messy energy through the brain, and it's triggering all kinds of,
toxic thoughts.
Just think of an argument when you start some stupid thing gets you going, and then you end up arguing. What am I even arguing about?
What's the point in the first place?
Exactly. Well, why did I even bring that stupid thing up? We resolved that years ago. Why am I bringing that up now? That's what will happen if you don't calm down on neurophysiology. So it's get your neurophysiology calm first, and you can do that with meditation, breathing, with exercise, gym workout, with creating space that, okay, we're both too hot now. Let's
Get
just
some fresh air. Yeah.
get some fresh air. Let's resolve this at a later. Let's create mental, physical space. There's so many ways of doing that. There's so many great sort of meditative breathing.
Yes.
Find something that works for you. It may not be the same thing. Mac and I like to just create space, and I like to do a 3-7 breathing thing that gets my neurophysiology under control. So you breathe in for 3 and out for 7. So and if you do that 7 times, you'll feel high. But it's great because you push so much oxygen to the front of your brain. And it's a very good way of calming down your neurophysiology. You can do that in 10 seconds. I call it a 10-second pause. You can do it for 60 to 90 seconds. So it's 10 seconds that you do 6 to 9 times. Great little formula for calming down neurophysiology.
Wow, that's great.
That's a fail-safe we always use. Really good fail-safe. Like, we are a family-run business. All of us are involved. It's very easy to argue with family. So when we all get hit up, which we do because we're all very Italian, we do a 10-second pause, and we will go out the room, grab a cup of coffee, and then come back and reconvene. Those simple things that I know we know, but are we doing them? Or are you trying to push through? I've got to solve this now. I used to be like that at the bed. We've got to fix this now. And so I had to learn to, hey, no, you don't have to fix it now. You
Take a
cannot
pause
fix. Okay, so that's first thing.
You can't. Is it possible to fix something when you're in chaotic thoughts?
You can, but it's more difficult, and you have to, it's just going to be confusing and, messy and harder and not very sustainable. And it's not a very peaceful way of doing it. So
it's exhausting,
I wouldn't do it that way. Then the next thing that's very practical is you can focus on good stuff. So it may just be good stuff about yourself. So you can, part of mental health is not just detoxing stuff. It's also building healthy stuff. So I love talking to you. We have great conversations. Every time I talk to you, I always have great memories of our conversations. So if I want to get myself into a good state, I can recall a good moment, like maybe a conversation with you. I love my research. We just published a paper, and I look at those results and I get like high, literally. So get yourself, there's just 2 silly examples, but they're very powerful. So if you've now calmed down your neurophysiology, and you now go and focus on something that makes you feel great, that means you're pulling this up. When you pull this up, amazing things happen in your brain. You change all the delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma frequencies. You calm down. Think of the waves of the sea. You want, they build, they're deep and big, and then they build on the beach, crash, make little waves, go back. We want that kind of energy going through our brain, which activates good neurochemical flow, the endocrine, all that stuff, immune system. So by the brain prep that I explained, the breathing, whatever, and then you have put yourself into a really good brain state. Mind, brain, body state, not just brain state, but you've got a very good flow happening. Now, you're still as irritated as hell, still would like to go and do something physical, like, whatever, I'm just joking. But I mean, you might want to throw a plate at the wall, or you still, I'm so mad about what. It's okay. It's okay to be messy. So third thing, tell yourself it's okay to be a mess. It's okay. I can be a mess. It's okay for us. It's normal. But how am I going to manage the mess? So give yourself permission to be the mess. Feel the mess. Analyze the mess. I'm frustrated. What's my emotion? What's my body feeling? What's my perspective in this moment? What am I doing? So you go through, it's okay to be a mess, and do a little mini neurocycle. Go through, why am I feeling like this? Write a few things down. Do a recheck. Okay, this has happened. What can I do? Action. Okay, I'm ready to talk. See what I've just done?
Yeah.
So step 1 is brain prep. Step 2 is think of something good. This has activated our natural resilience. We are not fragile. We are resilient. We are much more resilient than we realize. But if we take on the current zeitgeist that we break and it almost wrecked us for life, we're going to become fragile, which we're not. We're going to mask our natural resilience. We are pretty amazing as humans. Look at the stories of people surviving and getting through stuff. And then we need to draw on that. We need to unmask our resilience. So these steps, the brain prep, focusing on something about yourself. And then you could also add up to this, not just focusing on your own good stuff. You could think of something great about your partner. You could think, whatever. Think of a great memory, which is a really good addition. And that people hear before, but, I'm sure you've heard that before, but it's doing this great stuff in your brain. Then do a neurocycle on yourself. You can do this in 3 minutes, in 10 minutes, in an hour, whatever. Wow. Then reconvene and say, okay, now we're going to do this as a neurocycle. I have a whole relationship podcast where I went in detail of how to actually, what to say, guidelines of what to say at each step. And I mean, we can talk about some of those.
Right. I'm curious. I love all this. And the thing that came up for me is, what happens if we want love, we want to be in a relationship, we want connection, we want intimacy, but we don't believe we're deserving of love? What will happen then?
Such a great question. And it just reminds me, as you're talking, you're just prompting all these clinical experiences I've had. Very successful, incredible person, and one of those people that could get anything in their life, okay, and just wonderful in every single way. Thank you. And just could not keep a relationship going. Always start off well and everything, and at the end of the day, the core issue, once this person had worked through, was that they didn't deserve love. And it came, unfortunately, a lot of it comes from childhood.
Really?
And it's not everything, because you can have a great childhood and really trust in love, and then go into a really bad first marriage or first relationship.
How does
and
that?
A person can break you. And
really?
I can give you an example of
So it could be you could have a great childhood, great parents, great model of love.
Total.
But you get into a relationship, you fully trust and accept and love someone.
Because that's what you've seen. You throw everything.
And so you expect they're going to do the same for you, and then it doesn't go your way.
Exactly.
And then and then that could potentially set you up to think, I'm not deserving of love.
Yes, especially if it happens in your adolescent years. 12 to 18 is the most difficult part of the entire human life cycle. So, and that's where we are interested in forming our relationships. That's where romantic relationships are what we desire. Up until then, it's more friendship-based. It could be earlier, 10, 11. You can have little boyfriend, girlfriend things, but it's more just community, connection, deep friendship, something starting. But those years are, and you're at that age, your relationship with your friends and potential partners are not more important, but are more important than your parenting.
Wow.
They supersede.
In terms of relationships,
in terms of the formation of who I am.
Wow.
So at that stage, that's, so you can have this great foundation. And then you
amazing parents, no trauma.
Yeah.
Fun all the time, peace, harmony, and home.
Sorted it out, did the real thing, just great parents. They had their own messed up lives, but took responsibility, said sorry, did all that stuff.
Right.
And then you get into a relationship where someone who's broken is attracted to you, and you're attracted to them, and you swept off your feet either way, and their brokenness is put onto you in your informative years, and you get told you're not good enough.
Oh, what happens when we believe that?
What's wrong with you? And at that stage where you are so you're forming yourself, you're forming your choice, your identity in terms of others, relationships, me and the world, in terms of that drive for love. So if you're told you're never going to get a relationship.
Or you get rejected, or you get dumped, or you get cheated on as a teen. How does someone overcome that feeling of, I'm not deserving of love?
So that is a hard one. So to start, all of it's hard, but is to find the source. So what you very often is as an adult, and it's very often in the 20s and 30s where you start doing this work, and it can happen. I'm not saying always, I'm not generalizing, but very often, because that's when you kind of get through school and whatever you do, and you get into the workspace and you start actually really forming deeper relationships, and then you start getting to the point where you're thinking, okay, well, why? My friends are getting married. You know, that everyone around me is in relationships and I'm the only one who's not in a relationship. I can't seem to keep a relationship. What's wrong with me? That's when you start seeing those signals, patterns. That's when you need to sit down and do the work over 63 days and multiple cycles of 63 days. And then you'll get to the point where you'll see, okay, what is the root? The root was either a childhood issue or an adolescent issue. Maybe it was you were the new kid in town and everyone laughed at you because you wore glasses, and they just, said you never, what you were mocked. So you were too scared to actually show that guy or that girl that you like them. And you were too scared because you were so quiet, whatever. And that was the source of these many reasons. There was I can tell a story of someone else who was one of 4 kids, and it was the only girl, 3 boys. Kind of almost like seemingly perfect home. I mean, there's never any perfect whatever.
Right.
But kind of got it more or less okay.
Yes.
Bit of religious stuff going on there, but still. But the boys were very sporty and very, and the father just, always was totally sporty. So it was like a big deal. But this was not a sporty little girl. But to get the father's recognition, this little girl had to be like one of the boys also, she thought. And so purposefully, like almost made herself mirror, put the hat on backwards and baggy clothes, and didn't want to tomboy. Didn't want to feminize and that kind of stuff, and didn't want to, not that there's anything wrong with it, but her objective was not a healthy one. It was trying to fit in, to be accepted. And her perception, once we got to the root, was, well, I was never accepted, but never accepted by I thought that I had to be like a boy for my father to love me. And that was a huge thing. But it was so interesting. What really triggered that, this kid was about 5 or 6, already doing this, already reading the room and thinking this was the answer. And they were sitting, and some stranger came up. They were sitting at some restaurant, and this kid was dressed up like one of the boys. And someone said, "Oh, what a cute little boy." And that broke her. Because it was confirmation that she's not good enough as a female. That even outside people are saying, "Oh, I accept you because you're a cute little boy."
Wow.
So that led to years of self-abuse, self-hurt, sexual promiscuity.
Isn't it crazy that
broken marriages?
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that one thing we hear from a friend, a sibling, a parent, an outsider, a schoolmate, a teacher, it could stick with us for decades, forever.
Now imagine, Louis, if that person could have, and this is what triggered me to write the current book that I have on children with all these stories that I can tell. That person, I remember saying to me, if only I had known how to say to my parents, am I only loved if I'm a boy? I feel sad because you don't seem to love me unless I'm like a boy. Or that man made me sad because that man made me say, I've got to be a boy. Well, Daddy, do you love me even though I'm a girl? That child didn't know how to say that, didn't have the language, didn't have the tools. So what I'm trying to create, and we know that the mental health situation is for a multitude of reasons. We're not individuals, society, social media, AI. I mean, our generation's facing our problems. Every generation faces their issues. Every generation thinks what we're worse than the previous one.
Right.
No, we're not. We're just facing our unique problems.
Yes.
What we need in this generation with our kids so that they have decent relationships is, and it starts with having a decent relationship with themselves, is we have to have a way of them being able to process and express their feelings. So that 5-year-old needs to be able to say, hey, I feel sad, or have a point of contact, something. So you can teach a child as young as 2 how to do this, Louis. My youngest patients in my practice were 2 and 3 years of age, and you can teach them how to identify their signals, detox, and to make it really easy. That's what I've done in the latest book, this one, How to Help Your Child Clean Up Their Mental Mess. But we created this character. I actually created this character 25 years ago. I had a Disney artist create this character, and we had it all updated. So the book, if you flip through, you'll see there's multiple images of Brainy. This is a character we've created called Brainy. Brainy goes through all these different scenarios, and it's how you understand how you can teach a child as young as 2 that these trees in the brain, and how you can change your brain, and and how to express and identify your signals. All these hard things that we battle with as adults, you can teach children very basically as a child. So we created a toy. So for example, let's say you have a 2-year-old who is sitting at, let's take a 5 or 6-year-old, and they're at school, daycare, or whatever, at kindergarten, and someone constantly comes up and knocks their toy tower over that they're building, and then next day pulls their hair on the playground. There's a series of teasing going on. And that child most likely has, and I'm talking of another clinical case, has been abused at home by terrible physical abuse, but it's taking it out on the most vulnerable person in the playground. Then that child comes home and takes it out on the most vulnerable person in the family, which is the younger brother, who's maybe 2 or 3 years of age. And so now we see a perfect home environment with all the love and dealing with all the issues and blah. But this child's now starting to bully the younger child, and quite badly, so that there's this terrible sibling rivalry.
Where does bullying come from? Like, why do most people start to bully other kids?
It's a coping mechanism from abuse.
Really?
So it's
Could
one
be
of those-
verbal or emotional or
Yes,
sexual or
yes.
physical abuse.
Yes. So it's coming from any level of 8, 9, 10 traumas. If you think of a scale of 1 to 10, 8, 9, 10 would be your extreme traumas. And persistent bullying that's breaking a person down would fall under that category. Any kind of abuse would fall under that sort of category. So when bullying is one behavior in amongst those 4 signals I keep talking about, that is energy that's built up, that's self-hatred. And self-hatred, therefore, is now blasting out. And they're repeating a pattern. So bully has been bullied. And so it's a persistent pattern that goes through generations.
They don't know how to process their emotions in a healthy way. So this is how they get it out.
Exactly. That's how they're getting it out.
So bully has been abused in some way.
Yes. And they've been bullied or have been bullied or are being bullied. And so they're just taking it out. So you can't treat the bully by punishing the bully. You've got to actually help resolve why the bully's doing the bullying in the first place. And so you'd start with a child in your home that's bullying the little brother and find out, okay, well, let's now, and this is key. You need to make a person feel validated, because you need to say to that child, whether or an adult, this is not who you are. These behaviors that I'm seeing that are impacting us, the rest of the family, yourself, your friends, or whatever, this is not who you are. I know that because I know you are. I know who you are. I love you. So in other words, you divorce the behavior from the person. And that's really critical to create that safe space. So look, I'm going to help you work through this. This is no judgment, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about how, you can't hurt your brother or your sister or whatever. But at the same time, I recognize that this is not who you are. So you're doing this for a reason. So you've got to stop hurting, and you're going to put boundaries in place for that. But I'm also going to help you understand what's going on, and you're going to help me understand. Wow. And then you take them through a process of a neurocycle. You have a contact point. So I've created things like toys, coloring books, that character, that if a child is not able to verbalize, which they're not until they're old enough to have the language, and even then they don't have the words often. But if you have a key contact point or a point in your house where, like you have a sitting room and you watch TV and that's your place of relaxation, you need a mind management place in your home. You've got a gym, you've got a whatever. You need a mind management center in your home, which could be a beautiful little couch or a little beanbag and next to a pretty plant, something that you as a family create and choose. And
you
everyone,
feel safe.
Adults say,
yeah.
Whenever you go there's no judgment, there's only safety. And if someone's sitting there, they're needing support. So creating that environment and then having, like a toy like this, a young child, it's often easier to say, oh, shame, Brainy was bullied today and he's so sad. And, so I see that Brainy's angry. And so you transfer that over to the toy, then the child can enact and carry it out and show you what's happening. And then it divorces it from them directly, and it enables them to try and enact that without feeling threatened or scared or externalizing. And you can also model for yourself, oh, Mommy feels sad today and this happened. And so you model and you actually walk through the 5 steps without saying them, but you do that and you model. So that allows them to have the space. Oh, Mommy also sometimes gets mad, or Dad also sometimes gets mad, or Uncle also. But you in that space. Now that idea of creating a mind management space, or a neurocycle space, whatever you want, or a brainy space, whatever you want to call it, and I've got these examples in the book, came from a study done in Zimbabwe years ago, where I was actually born, called bench therapy. And it was a granny on a bench in a tribe, in a country that has no money for current modern mental health, and actually has better mental health than any westernized country, because our current model doesn't make things better, it actually makes things worse, and the science is there to prove that. And all that this granny did, Lewis, was sit on a bench and create a safe space for people to listen.
I love all the stuff that Dr. Caroline Leaf just shared on our shows before. We've had her on many times, and they've gotten millions of views and plays. So make sure to check those out as well as we dive deeper on those topics. But one of the things that she talked about that I loved here was creating a safe spaces. First off, within yourself, how can you create a mind management or neurophysiological space within yourself and in your physical home or environment where anyone can express themselves freely with their emotions? This could be you going to a specific room. This could be you taking a moment and really getting quiet with yourself and allowing yourself to process internally within your mind. It's important for us as humans to have that space, to not suppress our emotions and our feelings. It's also important to express those things in a conscious, healthy way, not attacking your partner and screaming at them or making them wrong, but allowing yourself to process first, creating a safe environment where there is no retaliation from another, then letting some of that out and communicating consciously how you're feeling about something, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what agreements you need to create, etc. Again, this was a powerful moment for me. Share in the comments below what you enjoyed most from Dr. Caroline Leaf or your biggest takeaway from all these different relationship experts who shared valuable insights in the pursuit of lasting love. Again, it's important to remember that relationships do take time, they take effort, and they take attention. I thought if you just have a feeling with someone, if you just like someone, then you guys can make it work. But like we talked about in the beginning, love is not enough. It's not all you need. You've got to be constantly thinking about how can I show up for myself? How can I love myself first? How can I make sure I'm in a healing journey and creating wholeness within myself first so that I can attract from a healthier space? And then I can respond, not react from a better position. Because if we feel wounded, if we feel like we're broken, if we feel like we're not deserving of love, if we feel like we're always choosing the wrong partners and getting taken advantage of or cheated on or hurt by them or lied to or manipulated, then we're never going to believe in love. We're never going to believe that we are deserving and capable of love because of these poor experiences in our past. So when we take back control of how we view and love ourselves, when we take back the intimacy with self first, then we can learn to communicate and respond in a conscious way with another and create a loving environment with them. It doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect and roses and fairyland every single day, but when you have safety within you, you can create safety within another, or you can speak up when you know you're not safe to create those boundaries. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, let me know your biggest takeaway below. I'm so excited for you on your loving relationship journey. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get more incredible content on love, life, and mindset as well. Thanks again. You incorporate daily check-ins and attention management techniques into your routine to deepen your self-connection. So let's dive into this enlightening conversation first with Dr. Nicole LaPera.
When two people have traumatic nervous systems,